it's Trina and this is my November reading wrap-up. So I'm going to review and talk about all the books that I have read this month. Before I get into the books, like always, I am going to start out with a couple of bookish updates. I do want to remind you guys to vote in the YA BookTube Awards. The voting period is until the very last day of this year. So if your very favorite book did not make it into the finals round of the Goodreads Choice Awards, you can still vote for it in the YA BookTube Awards. I also want to mention that in November I went to Y'all Fest. Y'all Fest is this amazing young adult book festival hosted in Charleston, South Carolina, and this was my second year going and I got to meet up with a ton of friends. So I have actually uploaded 2 collab videos with a bunch of great booktubers. Don't forget to check those out. Some really fun collabs came out of my Y'all Fest trip this year. My TBR check-in for this month is kind of sad. I had 6 books on my TBR for November. Out of these 6, I ended up only reading 2 of these. I did read The Rose Society and I read Gemina. The other 4 books on this list are probably just going to be rolled over to my December TBR. Spoiler warning. Now let's get into the book reviews, and like usual I'm going to start at the bottom of my ratings and work my way up to my favorite reads of this month. Everything I read this month was 3 stars and up. So the first book I'm going to talk about is Furthermore by Tahereh Mafi. This is her first middle grade novel and it is about a young girl named Alice who lives in a world full of color and full of magic, but she herself is colorless and she is struggling with where does she belong, how does she fit in. I think this is a really incredible tale for young children about acceptance. The reason that I picked this one up is because I did enjoy Tahereh Mafi's Shatter Me trilogy. I just wanted to know more of her writing style, be more familiar with this author. And I do think that she still has a very whimsical, flowery style to her writing, but it is not exactly the same as Shatter Me. The format of this one is just completely plain text. There's no strikeouts or line jumps or anything. It was similar, but it was still different. And overall, Furthermore just made me want to pick up more by her. So that was really the experiment and the end game of getting this book. I did give this book 3 stars, and that's not because I felt like it had any flaws or that I would critique anything about it. I just understand that this is not really the book that I would normally reach for, so it wasn't my favorite. The reason that I read this one was because I got the audiobook, and I will tell you guys that the audiobook was fantastic quality. I would highly recommend it. It was like having a bedtime story read to you. But my favorite thing about this book is that at times I couldn't tell if this was like a full-blown fantasy world or if this was the real world seen through children's eyes. And I thought that that was a really amazing experience. That's a cool thing because kids are really imaginative and creative. I mean, sometimes it is clearly obviously a fantasy world, but at other times I was like, this is an interesting way to look at the real world. The next book I read this month I also gave 3 stars, and that is As I Descended by Robin Talley. This is a retelling of Shakespeare's play Macbeth, and this is about a boarding school that is haunted, and we have 4 main characters that are all involved in this in certain ways. The character of Macbeth is played by a female character named Maria, and Lady Macbeth is played by a girl named Lily. So Lily and Maria are in a relationship together. A lot of people call this a lesbian retelling of Macbeth, although I think one of these characters is actually bisexual, or at least that was the vibe I got. It wasn't explicitly stated though. You do also have 2 male characters who are together, and there is diversity in terms of disability as well as race. Maria and Mateo are both Hispanic characters, and Lily has a disability where she uses crutches to get around. So the things I really loved about this book is that it's extremely atmospheric. It has that great eerie quality to it with the haunting elements and these characters who are slowly going mad. I did read this one right at the tail end of October and finished it at the beginning of November, so it's perfect for Halloween time. And the things that I didn't like so much about this book is that, okay, I really liked the characters, but around halfway through in this book, I felt like the characters were just puppets to fulfill this Macbeth retelling. I just felt like they were going through the motions to hit all the main points of this retelling. By the end of it, I just felt like I didn't really understand why these characters were doing things in this story. I need this story to make sense on its own instead of just making sense in the context of Macbeth. You know what I mean? So to me, I felt like near the end it just kind of fizzled out. It got a little bit weak. I didn't really understand why some things were happening anymore other than just because they had to. Next up at 4 stars, I read The Amateurs by Sara Shepard. This is the first book in a new trilogy. This story is about a girl that went missing 5 years ago, and her body did turn up dead after that, and the last person that saw her alive was her younger sister, and her younger sister has never gotten answers about what happened to her because the police could not find anything everything out. And so her sister has started posting on this website that is dedicated to amateur crime solvers. Her sister is wanting answers, and so she attracts the attention of a guy that used to know the girl that went missing and a couple of strangers from that website that come to the town, and they start investigating what really happened to this girl. This book was sent to me by Freeform Books because they wanted to sponsor a video review that I've already uploaded of this book, so you can check that video out. I'll put a link down below if you want to hear more of my thoughts on it. But overall, I really enjoyed this as a setup to a new mystery from Sara Shepard. I have read the majority of Sara Shepard's books. I really felt like the characters in the plot were more developed. I feel like it was a little bit more mature in tone, so I really did enjoy this one, and I cannot wait to continue the series, and I would definitely recommend it if you like mysteries and thrillers. Next, I read The Rose Society by Marie Lu, which is book number 2 in the Young Elites trilogy. This is a young adult fantasy series about a world in which an illness has kind of swept the lands. Some people who have survived the illness have gained supernatural abilities. We are following a main character who has the ability of illusion, so she can make anyone else see whatever she wants them to see. And this group of like basically heroes of the society kind of recruit her in the first book, and our main character Adelina is kind of trying to figure out what kind of a person she wants to be. Does she want to be a hero, or does she want to be a villain? I really enjoy Adelina as a character because she does struggle with her darkness. She knows when things are wrong, and then sometimes she accepts it and she's like, cool, I'm alright with doing the wrong thing. I'm gonna own it. I really enjoy this. It really makes me think a lot. This is another one that I listened to on audio. There is duo narration in the audiobook because we do have multiple points of views, but Adelina's voice actor was just really great at capturing the emotion behind what Adelina was going through. But I really enjoyed this book a lot more than I expected I would. I read The Young Elites like way back when it first came out and put off picking up the second book, and now that I picked this up, I really regret having put it off because I just had a fun time listening to this book. And my favorite book that I read this month was Gemina by Amie Kaufman and Kristoff. This is the second book in the Illuminae Files trilogy, and this one is following new characters, but you do see the characters from the first book appear. This book is following characters who live on a wormhole space station. So this station controls wormhole travel, and you have a spaceship full of survivors from the events that happened in book 1 who are trying to travel to this wormhole to get away, and on the other side of the wormhole you have a group who is trying to assassinate the survivors, trying to come through that wormhole in the other direction and get that fleet. So this space station has found itself under siege by people who are trying to let the assassins in, and you have a couple of characters who have formed kind of this resistance against that. They are wanting this ship of survivors to get away, so there's this battle on board this station for control of who can pass through the wormhole. Does that make sense? This series is a multimedia format series. It's told through IMs and emails. You have a lot of drawings because one of our main characters is very artistic. This series is just so fun to me. It is quite the experience. Like, sometimes I'm reading it and I have a hard time making my brain realize that I am not playing a video game at the moment, because things sometimes play out in this and I'm like, this is like reading a video game. Like, I can just totally imagine like the parts where you're trying to run and gather things, and then the parts that are cutscenes. I think this would make an amazing video game. Somebody please get on that. We need book to video game adaptations instead of book to movie adaptations, and this should be the first one because I think it would be amazing. So I'm a fan. I love this series. There's nothing I don't like about it. This was such a delightful read, and there's some things that happen in this book that were just like blowing my mind because I did not expect this to happen, and then when it did I was like, why did I not see this coming? Because this is a thing that I love and I can't believe they're doing it. Oh my gosh, they're doing this. This is like my fangirl dream book. Yeah, I love it. I love it. So that's my gush about this book. I really enjoyed it, guys. I love it. So here are the 5 books that I read in November. You can talk to me more in the comments about any of these books if you've read them or if you want to read them, or you can catch me on Twitter. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the comments. Bye!